Welcome back to the deep dive. It is February 2026, and I want you to take a second to just mentally scroll through your Netflix queue or, your Peacock homepage.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot right now.
Right. If it looked anything like mine, it is absolutely flooded. I mean, we are drowning in roses, golden goblets, soundproof pods, and suspiciously attractive singles on tropical islands.
It really has become the dominant content genre of the mid-20s, hasn't it? Like, it's unavoidable.
It's everywhere. And looking at it all, I realize something. We aren't just looking at dating anymore. We are looking at a massive, industrialized complex. Love isn't just in the air. It's in the algorithm, it's in the production schedule, and it's definitely in the quarterly earnings reports.
That is a perfect way to frame it. We have transitioned from romance being this private, serendipitous thing, driven and usually televised spectator sport.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we are not going to sit here and gossip about who cheated on whom in the latest season of Love Island or Love is Blind.
No, we're going a bit deeper today.
They are going to pop the hood and look at the engine. We are deconstructing the machinery behind modern romance.
And we have a really eclectic stack of sources to do that. I mean, we have some heavy mathematical theory, literally integer programming applied to dating shows. We have deep sociological studies on gender roles and toxicity. And we have the industry reports on what the streaming giants are actually throwing at us this year.
The mission today is to answer a pretty fundamental question for anyone listening who is single or even just anyone fascinated by human behavior. In this era of algorithmic matching and producer-manufactured drama, do we actually stand a better chance of finding love? Or are we just generating better content?
It's the ultimate question. Are we optimizing for connection or are we just optimizing for entertainment?
To kick this off, I want to start with something that honestly blew my mind. It's a breakdown of the MTV show Are You the One?
Yes.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Trashy reality TV. But we have a source, a blog called Illusion Slopes, that treats this show like a complex mathematical proof.
Which is completely valid, because if you strip away the alcohol and the arguments, Are You the One? Is essentially a logic puzzle. It's a combinatorics problem.
For the listener who hasn't seen it, let me set the stage. You have a group of singles, let's say 10 men and 10 women. Or in the queer season, 20 people of any gender. Before the show starts, the producers interview them, test them, and secretly pair them up into perfect matches.
Right. So there is a correct answer key that exists before filming even starts.
Exactly. The contestants have 10 weeks to figure out who matches with whom. If they get all 10 couples right, they split $1 million. If they don't, they get nothing.
And the mechanics of how they figure it out are crucial here. They have two feedback loops. First, the truth booth.
Right, the truth booth.
They vote a specific couple into the booth, and the machine tells them unambiguously, yes, a match or no match.
That's the concrete data point.
Correct. Then, at the end of the episode, they have the matchup ceremony, everyone pairs up, beams of light shoot up to tell them how many couples are correct, and this is the kicker, it doesn't tell them which ones are correct.
So you could have 3 beams of light, meaning 3 couples are right, but you have no idea if it's the couple on the left, the right, or the middle. It's partial information.
Exactly. Now, usually you watch this show and it's chaos. People are following their hearts. They are crying because they have a crush on someone who isn't their match. And they usually fail miserably until the producers practically hand them the answer in the final week.
But the Illusion Slopes breakdown suggests it doesn't have to be that hard.
No. The author argues that this is a solvable game. If you ignore the romance and look at the math, there are 2 ways to beat the house. The first is what's called Owen's algorithm, which is based on information theory.
Information theory. Okay, that sounds intense. Let's break that down.
Think of it like the game, Guess Who? You know that game.
Of course. Does your person have a mustache?
Right. Why do you ask about the mustache first? You don't ask, is your person, Bill, straight away. You ask about the mustache because it eliminates half the board in one go. You are maximizing the information you gain from the question.
So you're casting a wide net to cut down the possibilities.
Exactly. Owen's algorithm calculates something called entropy. In the context of Are You the One? There are millions of possible combinations of how these 20 people could be matched.
Millions.
Factorials are big numbers. So, for every possible guess the group could make in the matchup ceremony, The algorithm calculates, if we make this guess, how many of those millions of possible worlds do we eliminate on average?
So it's looking for the mustache question.
Precisely. It doesn't care if person A and person B are in love. It doesn't care if they hate each other. If pairing them up helps rule out 90% of the other possibilities, the algorithm says do it.
It's cold, hard logic. It's purely strategic.
And it works. In simulations, this method solves the game by episode 10 in 98% of cases. Essentially, it turns the show into free money.
But here's the problem with that approach, and the Illusion Slopes author points this out. That method assumes the contestants know absolutely nothing. It treats the matching as random.
Right. It assumes the perfect matches were drawn out of a hat. But they weren't. They were matched by human producers based on personality tests and interviews. So, in theory, the contestants should have some instinct, some vibe about who they're supposed to be with.
You would hope so.
Yeah.
If I'm matched with someone because we both love hiking and hate loud chewers, I should be able to sense that compatibility better than a random number generator.
Exactly. And that is where the second model comes in integer programming. This is where it gets really fascinating. The author created a model that doesn't just look at the logic constraints, it assigns a compatibility score to every couple.
How do you quantify compatibility in a spreadsheet?
You introduce a variable for vibes.
I love that. V for vibes.
Literally. The model assumes that the contestants have a signal, a gut feeling about who they are matched with. But humans are messy, so that signal is mixed with noise. Maybe you think you're a match because they're hot, or because you're drunk, or because they remind you of your ex.
That's the noise.
That's the noise. So the integer programming model tries to maximize that vibe score, basically, trying to make the couples as happy as possible, but with one strict rule. It must adhere to the logical constraints from the previous ceremonies.
So it's saying, go ahead, follow your heart, pick the person you vibe with, unless the math from last week proved that it is impossible.
Exactly. It's maximizing intuition within the bounds of logic. And the results of the simulation were staggering.
Hit me with the numbers.
If the contestants have even weak intuition, and by weak we mean a signal-to-noise ratio of 1 to 2, so their gut is twice as likely to be wrong as it is to be right, this algorithm wins the game 100% of the time.
100%.
Every single simulation.
So even if their vibes are mostly garbage, as long as they aren't totally random, the math saves them.
Yes, because the algorithm forces those semi-garbage vibes to fit into the logical puzzle. It filters out the impossible vibes.
That's actually a really profound life lesson, isn't it?
It really is. The author compares it to Wordle.
Oh, I play Wordle every day. How does it connect?
Think about how you play. You have two strategies. One is exploration. You guess a word with totally new letters just to see what lights up. You sacrifice a turn to get data.
Right. I know the word isn't a do, but I need to know if there's an A or an E.
That's Owen's algorithm, pure information gathering. The other strategy is exploitation. You use the green and yellow letters you already have to try and guess the specific answer.
Following the vibes.
Exactly. And in Are You the One? And arguably in real life, the winning strategy isn't pure logic that's too slow and ignores the human element, but it's also not pure follow-your-heart chaos that leads to repeating the same mistakes. It's intuition constrained by logic.
Intuition constrained by logic. I like that.
Yeah.
It means you can date the bad boy, but only if the data says he hasn't been ruled out yet.
Or date the person you have chemistry with, but stop dating the person who has shown you empirically that they cannot meet your needs. That is the truth booth saying, no match, move on.
It seems so simple when you put it that way.
Yeah.
But we don't live in a mansion in Hawaii with a truth booth. We live on our phones. We live on apps.
And that brings us to the psychological dimension. Because while the math says we can solve the puzzle, the psychology of how we access people today suggests we are making it harder for ourselves.
We have this comprehensive paper from Psychological Science Finkel et al., and they really go after the dating app industry.
They do. They break down the service of online dating into 3 components: access, communication, and matching.
Let's start with access, because on the surface, this is the best thing about apps. I can sit on my couch and see 500 people. I would never meet 500 people in a year of going to bars.
Absolutely, and the paper acknowledges that. If you are in a marginalized community, surprisingly, or if you are LGBTQ+ in a small town, or you work the night shift, access is a game changer. It solves the thin market problem. But there's a tipping point. The source argues that the supermarket level of access triggers a fundamental shift in our psychological mindset. We move from an experiential mindset to an evaluative mindset.
Explain the difference.
Okay, imagine you meet someone at a friend's dinner party. You are in an experiential mindset. You are chatting, you are noticing their laugh, you are seeing how they treat the waiter, you are experiencing them as a whole human being.
Right. I'm not analyzing their stats. I'm just hanging out.
Exactly. Now imagine you are on an app, you are shopping, you're scanning a profile, height, 6'1".
Yeah.
Job, finance, photo, hiking. You are evaluating attributes. You are comparing them to the previous profile and the next profile.
It turns people into products. It's commodification.
It is objectification in the literal sense. We reduce complex, three-dimensional humans into two-dimensional displays of information. And the research shows this leads to assessment overload. When you have too many options, you become less satisfied with any choice you make.
Is that the paradox of choice?
It's related. It's also called the grass is greener syndrome.
Yeah.
Why would I commit to this perfectly nice person I'm having coffee with when I have 500 other potential matches in my pocket? Maybe one of them is perfect.
It encourages a lack of commitment. It encourages us to treat people as disposable. Oh, you chew with your mouth open. Swipe. Next.
Precisely. It creates a culture of relation shopping. And it leads to lazy decision-making. We filter out people for trivial reasons like height or hair color who might actually be incredible partners in person.
So access is the double-edged sword. What about matching? Because that's the big sales pitch. We use science to find your soulmate. The algorithm knows you better than you know yourself.
Yeah, about that. The source is pretty brutal here. They basically say it's marketing fluff.
Really? None of it works.
The verdict is no compelling evidence. The researchers argue that matching algorithms, the ones that say, you are an introvert, he is an extrovert, therefore you are a 98% match, predict almost nothing about relationship success.
How can they claim that? Surely having things in common matters?
It matters for the first date. Similarity makes for an easy first conversation. Oh, you like Star Wars, I like Star Wars, great. But that is not what makes a relationship last for 10 years.
What makes it last?
Interaction dynamics.
Interaction dynamics. Break that down.
It's not about who you are, it's about how you interact. How do you handle stress together? When you lose your luggage at the airport, do you scream at each other or do you laugh it off? How do you support each other when one of you gets fired?
And the algorithm can't predict that.
No, because the algorithm only has your resume. It doesn't know your job performance. You cannot predict interaction dynamics from two separate profiles before the people have ever met. It is mathematically impossible.
So we are shopping for partners based on specs that don't matter, using algorithms that don't work, in a marketplace that makes us feel disposable.
Correct.
Well, that's depressing. But at least we have entertainment, right? If we can't find love ourselves, we can watch other people try and fail on TV.
Which brings us to the industrial complex part of our discussion. It is 2026, and the sheer volume of reality dating content is staggering. We're looking at the Netflix slate for this year, and it is heavy.
It's a deluge. They have 18 reality series in previews alone.
18. And remember, these aren't cheap little shows anymore. These are flagship franchises.
Love is Blind is entering season 10. That is a decade of pods.
And it's global now. Love is Blind UK, Love is Blind to BB. It's a franchise model, like Marvel.
But what struck me about the 2026 slate is the trends. It's not just dating anymore, it's gamification.
Yes. Look at Star Search. It's back, but with live voting.
And this one that made me laugh out loud. Is it cake? Valentine.
I saw that. What does that even mean? Are we guessing if the heart-shaped box is cake? Or if the partner is cake?
I honestly don't know, and I'm terrified to find out. But it shows that they are blurring the lines. It's viewer play along. We aren't just watching, we are participating.
And the niche interests are getting hyper-specific. Win them all.
A shopping competition.
It seems so. And Blue Therapy. This one is interesting. It's filmed couples counseling.
That feels invasive.
It is, but it caters to that voyeuristic desire to see the real mechanics of a relationship falling apart. And then you have Loren, an MMA fighting show.
Which seems like an outlier, but is it? It's all conflict. Whether it's punching someone in a cage or screaming at them in a villa, it's all about high-stakes conflict.
That's the key. We have moved beyond observing life to creating these pressure cooker environments designed to break people.
Yeah.
And that leads us to the production side of things. How real is this reality?
We have a source from Fiveable that breaks down narrative manipulation. And look, we all know it's edited. We're not naive. But I don't think people realize the extent of the surgery they do on this footage.
It's not surgery, it's Frankensteining. The source uses that term, Frankenbiting.
I've heard this term. Explain how it works in practice.
Okay, let's say you are a contestant. On Tuesday, You are eating a sandwich and you say, "I hate this bread."
Okay. Innocent enough.
Then on Thursday, you are talking about a guy named Steve and you say, "I really like him."
Also innocent.
The editors want a storyline where you hate Steve, so they take the audio "I hate" from Tuesday and they splice it with him from Thursday. They bridge it with a cutaway shot of you looking annoyed.
So on TV, I say I hate him.
And you say it in your own voice with your own inflection. The viewer has no way of knowing that sentence never existed.
That is terrifying. That is literally putting words in someone's mouth.
It is. And then there is the confessional. We see those interviews of the person sitting in the chair talking to the camera and we think, oh, this is their inner monologue.
Right. They are telling us how they felt in the moment.
Except those are film days, sometimes weeks later. And producers are behind the camera prompting them. Say it like you're angry. Can you say that again in the present tense? Don't you think she was being a bitch?
So they are coaching the narrative.
They are directing the character. And they cast for these archetypes. They need the villain. They need the underdog. They need the heartbreaker. If you get cast as the villain, you are in trouble.
And this isn't just, oh, people on Twitter will be mean to me. This has real devastating consequences. We have an article here by Lauren Beeching about the dark side of production. It's a really tough read.
It is. We need to talk about the human cost. The report references data from The Sun, and while it's a tabloid, the numbers are verified that between 2014 and 2020, 38 reality TV participants globally took their own lives.
38 people
Yeah.
in 6 years. That is a staggering number for an entertainment industry.
It is. And a 2021 survey showed that 57% of participants reported negative mental health effects. 65% experienced severe online abuse.
And they can't defend themselves because of the contract.
It's the NDAs, the non-disclosure agreements. This is the illusion of control. You sign a contract that basically says the production company owns your image and your story in perpetuity throughout the universe.
Literally throughout the universe, I've seen that language.
So if they give you a villain edit, if they Frankenbite you into looking like a psychopath, you cannot go on Instagram and say, hey, here's the raw footage, I didn't say that. You will get sued into oblivion.
So you have to sit there, silent, while millions of people tear you apart for something you didn't do. I can't imagine the psychological toll.
And the production tactics used to get those reactions are ruthless. We have a case study here on Love Island, specifically looking at the money shot.
The money shot, that's a gross term.
It's borrowed from pornography, but here it applies to emotional distress. The producers need a climax. They need tears. They need a breakdown.
The source mentions Danny Dyer from season 4.
That is the textbook example. Donnie was coupled with Jack. They were the fan favorites. Jack was sent to a different Villa Casa Amor. He was completely loyal. He slept outside on a beanbag. He did nothing wrong.
He was a saint.
But the producers sent a video clip to Danny, and they carefully edited that clip to show Jack seeing his ex-girlfriend, who was in the other villa. They cut out his reaction. They cut out him sleeping outside. They just showed the threat.
So she sees this and thinks he's cheating.
She had a full meltdown,
Yeah.
sobbing, shaking, hyperventilating. It was visceral, and the cameras just zoomed in. That was the money shot. They tortured her psychologically to get a clip for the trailer.
It's cruel. It's genuinely cruel.
And the analysis points out that this toxicity is often gendered. There's a lot of gaslighting baked into the format.
We see this with the men constantly.
The Jordan Hames situation is a classic example. Jordan asked his partner to be his girlfriend. 2 days later, 2 days, he was cracking on with another girl.
In front of his girlfriend's face.
Yes. And when she confronted him, which any rational person would do, what did he do? Did he apologize?
No. He called her negative.
He called her negative. He said she was losing her head. He tried to frame her justified anger as insanity. That is textbook gaslighting.
Yeah.
Making the victim question their reality to deflect accountability.
It plays into the crazy woman trope. Oh, she's just hysterical.
It's exactly. And the academic sociological analysis we have highlights how male contestants like Adam Collard and Michael Griffiths use these exact tactics, dismissing women's valid suspicions as paranoid or childish.
It's a pattern.
It is, and the show thrives on that. It thrives on the do-bit society.
Explain that term for people who missed that season.
The Do-Bit Society was a little club the men formed to discuss their sexual conquests in the villa. They used code names. It was a locker room. For the men, having sex increased their status. It was a bonding ritual.
But for the women,
Total double standard. Look at Zara Holland. She lost her literal Miss Great Britain crown because she had sex on the show.
but the guy she was with didn't lose anything.
No. He was just a lad. Or Maura Higgins. She was open about sex, she talked about it like a man would, and she was labeled a man-eater. She was slut-shamed for it.
Even though the source notes, her actual body count on the show was lower than most of the others.
It didn't matter. She violated the good girl script. So you have this paradox where the show demands women be sexy, wear the bikinis, do the lap dances, but if they actually act on that desire, they are punished.
So we've established that the math is solvable, but we ignore it.
Huh?
The psychology says the apps are breaking our brains, the production is manipulative and ethically bankrupt. But I have to ask, does it work?
That is the million-dollar question.
If I go through the trauma, the gaslighting, the editing, do I get the ring? Do I get the happy ending?
If we look at the stats, brace yourself.
Give it to me straight.
Let's start with Married at First Sight. The premise is right there. Experts match you. It should work.
Right. It's arranged marriage with science.
According to Reddit Community Analysis, which tracks these things better than the networks do, by the way, and recent season data, the success rate for MAFS US is hovering around 5.5%.
5.5%.
Yes.
That is statistically insignificant. That is a margin of error.
For context, traditional arranged marriages in some cultures have stability rates of over 90%. Even standard meet-in-a-bar marriages in the U.S. succeed about 50% of the time. MAFS fails nearly 95% of the time.
So you are statistically more likely to get divorced than stay married if you go on that show.
Overwhelmingly so. Historically, it's been under 20%, and it's just dropping.
What about Love is Blind? Is love blind?
Love might be blind, but it's also rare. The success rate there, counting couples who get married and are still together, is roughly 9 to 10%.
Better than 5%, but still. You have a 1 in 10 shot, and you have to endure public humiliation to get it.
And the sources point out the clout factor. As these shows hit season 10, the people applying aren't naive romantics looking for a soulmate. They are aspiring influencers looking for a brand deal.
Right. They know the game. If you are a happy, boring couple, you get cut from the edit. If you throw a drink, you get screen time. Screen time equals followers. Followers equals money.
So the incentive structure is perverse. The successful outcome for a contestant is actually drama, not love.
It's cynical. But wait, there was one show in the notes that had a weirdly positive stat. Temptation Island.
Yes, this is the plot twist of the deep dive.
Temptation Island. The show where they take committed couples, separate them, put them in a house with hot singles, and try to get them to cheat.
A home wrecker show.
How could that possibly have good stats?
A statistical analysis by FXsuit looked at the data, and contrary to every expectation, more participating couples survived the show than split up.
Get out. The show designed to break you is more successful than the show designed to marry you.
It seems so, and the analysis found a very specific variable that predicts survival: duration.
How long they've been together.
Exactly. There is a strong linear correlation. For every year less a couple has been together, they have a roughly 24% higher chance of breaking up.
So history matters.
History is a constraint. Going back to our math section, if you have 5 years of history, that is a massive constraint holding you together against the noise of the hot singles.
But here is the stat that confused me. The infidelity paradox.
Oh, this is fascinating. The analysis looked at couples who had a history of cheating before coming on the show.
Logic would say, once a cheater, always a cheater. If he cheated at home, he's definitely cheating on Temptation Island.
That's what I thought, but the data says no correlation.
No correlation.
Couples with a history of infidelity survived at the same 50-50 rate as the loyal couples. Past cheating did not predict future cheating on the show.
How do you explain that?
I have a theory. I think the couples who have survived cheating have already been through the fire. They have already had the screaming matches. They have already rebuilt trust. They know how to handle the noise.
Whereas the loyal couples might be fragile. They've never been tested. The first crack shatters the vase.
Exactly. It suggests that perfect relationships are brittle, but repaired relationships are resilient.
That is a surprisingly hopeful takeaway from a show about infidelity.
It is, and even the failures are interesting. We have updates on the Temptation Island couples from Netflix Tudum. Take Alexa and Lino. They survived, they're engaged, planning a wedding, and they say they have improved communication.
That's a win.
But then look at Shantae and Brion. They left the island together, but split up shortly after. They announced it on Instagram.
So the island magic wore off in the real world.
Right. And then you have Tyler. He left his partner for one of the singles, Kay. But that didn't last either. He's in a new relationship now.
So the temptation didn't even lead to a lasting new relationship.
No. Same with Ashley. She briefly reconciled with Grant after the show, which she described as a complete disaster, and now she's single.
So is the show a failure for them?
The producers might say no because it made great TV, but for the individuals, maybe it was a success a different way. It acted as a catalyst. It sped up a breakup that probably needed to happen anyway.
It accelerated the entropy.
Exactly. It eliminated the wrong world faster.
So we've covered a lot of ground here. We've looked at the math of illusion slopes, the psychology of the shopping mindset, the horrors of the villain edit, and the abysmal stats of Married at First Sight. Where does this leave us?
It leaves us in a bit of a paradox. We have more tools, more data, and more access than any generation in human history.
We have the world in our pockets.
But we seem to be getting worse at the actual goal finding and keeping love.
Because we are misusing the tools.
Right. We are using the apps to shop rather than to meet. We are using reality TV to judge rather than to understand. And we are letting the noise, the drama, the vibes, the endless options drown out the signal.
I want to go back to that "are you the one" algorithm one last time.
I think it's the key to the whole thing.
The math proved that you can't just use logic, and you can't just use intuition. You need both.
You need intuition constrained by logic.
Maybe that's the fix for modern dating. We need to stop chasing the money shot. We need to stop looking for the cinematic drama, the lightning bolt, the love is blind reveal.
And we need to stop swiping endlessly for a better option. We need to define our constraints, what actually matters. Is it kindness? Is it shared values? Define the box. Then let your intuition play freely inside that box.
Be the mathematician and the romantic at the same time.
Exactly. Don't be the producer. The producer wants you to fail because failure is entertaining. Be the algorithm designer. Solve for X.
I love that. So I guess the final question for our listener to ponder is this. In your own life, in your own search, are you playing for the drama? Are you secretly hoping for a villain edit just to spice things up?
Or are you actually trying to solve the equation?
It's a question worth asking before you send that next like.
It really is.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.